if you spend all your extra money all the time, then you're not really setting yourself up for success in the future, because it's the same thing. I was able to pay off all my debt. Like, I have no debt, like no car debt, no house debt, no nothing, because I was making so much money working all those hours
Yeah.
at a young
Yeah.
age. I had a lot of things that set me up for success.
Hola, what is up, everybody? I am super honored that you are back here tuning in to the Reliable Trades podcast. And I'm just super stoked because I've been working behind the scenes on this already. Great guest coming up. I'm sure you've already seen that. And we have Morgan's Maintenance kicking it off, which a lot of you guys know because you guys are into tools on my channel and definitely over on his channel. I just want to thank everybody. If you guys are listening to this on YouTube, make sure you subscribe to the channel. Listening to this on Spotify, Apple Podcast, any other platform, please leave a review, help the channel grow. I've been super amazed with the support and how quickly it's grown, or in my eyes, been successful. Being invited to the podcast pavilion at the AHR Expo was great, and I hope to continue that tradition now. And we also did the HVAC nights show there as well. So I just want to quickly say, if you don't know, we have an HVAC nights weekly live stream on Thursday evenings with Curtis, the HVAC guy, and Jake, Cooling with Kraus, over on YouTube. So go check us out there. You can also find us on Spotify, Apple Podcast, and all those platforms. Leave a review for that channel as well. So what I hope you get out of this new podcast channel is that there's many different trades, many different jobs for people, and ways to make a living that don't want to be behind a desk or stuck at somewhere too long. So really quickly, this podcast is brought to you by the CRM that we use is Jobber. Now they can help you stay connected whether you're in the field or wherever you're at. And they have an app for phones, tablets, or you can use a browser on anything like a laptop. And I can actually do invoicing, quoting, and pricing from anywhere that I'm at, whether it's on the couch, I'm on a business trip, I'm in a hotel, or I'm out in the field. I can just quickly look that up, help our team, stay connected with our guys, and, always be available and able to bill our customers or take care of anything important. Go to getjobber.com/reliablehvacr and, get yourself some help today. And the best tool bags money can buy, literally. They are an investment, and it is Vito Pro Pack tool bags. I have loved working with them, trying to help them with some designs and things behind the scenes, but they have been doing phenomenal with all the new bags and constantly bringing new things to market, like their lifestyle. If you guys didn't see at the AHR Expo or anybody post, they have a new lifestyle lineup where it's going to be like gym bags or duffel bags, everyday laptop bags, and a bunch of like cases and things that you would need outside of work. They're going to start covering that. So if you guys want to go check out Vito Pro Pack, the spring promotion's coming up really, really soon. And it's just, the tool bags last forever. They have that warranty, no downtime. And now they're making just about everything that I use, whether it's at work or after work. So I'm super excited. Glad that they support the channel. And now we can get on with it and enjoy the episode. Morgan's Maintenance, welcome to the show. I appreciate you taking the time to sit down.
Yeah, appreciate you letting me be on here. I think I've watched several of the podcasts. It's always an interesting thing to do. But I'm Joey Morgan. I'm Morgan's Maintenance. A lot of people know me as, but that's also my business. I guess I would say a general contractor would be the easiest way to explain it. But it's because that's what I'm doing right now. In the last couple of years, I've started my own business as Morgan's Maintenance. I'm a self-owner, only employee. I work for myself, work by myself, that type of thing. But for years, I've done facilities maintenance, also maintenance in factories and stuff like that. So I'm more of a general contractor, remodeler now. Still do maintenance. I would call it maintenance. That's kind of like a handyman
Yeah.
inside of people's homes, commercial and residential. So I still do that, but I also do mostly commercial remodeling, interior finish work and stuff now. But for the bulk of my career, I did facilities maintenance as a facilities manager and then also a facilities maintenance person. So I've been in it since I was 19 years old, working since I was 19, in different phases of it.
Yeah.
Uh, so I'm 44 now. You might be better at math than me. I don't know what that totals out to. I guess 45 or 25 years, I guess, like that. So I've been in it for quite a while. All of my uh, training has been OJT. That's all it
Just on
is.
the
I've
job.
yeah, taught myself everything, whether it was me teaching myself or there has been some people along the way, that's been a significant help to me, as far as teaching me different ways to look at stuff, teaching me how to do something. And then I've just taken that. My mindset is one where, like, I want to know the ins and outs of everything. Like, as I'm doing something, I want to know why
Yeah.
something way. I don't just learn the how.
Like
I want to know why.
why did what it did, how it works, the breakdown and
Yeah,
everything. And that's the best
I'm
way to
always
learn.
I'm always amazed at looking at anything. Like, how does this work? How is it supposed to work?
Well,
That's the biggest joy for me in finding out why something's
yeah.
not working, is that I defeated this thing. It thought it was going to beat me, thought it wasn't going to work again, but I've been able to figure it out. So
That's my greatest thing, like the most fun that I have doing this. What I do is HVAC, obviously, but the because my dad would always say that to me. He's like, it's not gonna beat you. Figure it out. So
yeah,
figure it out. And I've had some that have been really, really close to beating me. And then you just have that, aha moment, and you figure it out, and it's like the best feeling ever because you fixed it, right? And
yeah,
that's kind of the fun part of this, of any trade, basically, because all trades have some big issue that somebody can't figure out. That's why they call you, and
yeah.
that to me, that's the most fun.
Yeah, there's nothing better than you getting a phone call and they say, "I've had 3 people out here to look at this," and I'm like, "Man, I will be there tomorrow because I want to come see what it is that they couldn't." I mean, I'm not saying I can figure it out, but
Yeah,
that's like that challenge. Like, I actually look forward to jobs that are challenging. Like, that's because over 25 years, I've run into about anything for the most part in my field of work. There's nothing that really surprises me that much. So whenever I hear something like that, I'm like, I want to go check that out. I'm going to go see if I can figure out what it is. It's just always been interesting to me. And
well,
I'm a competitive person,
yeah,
so I think it's, again, I'm against the job at that point, and
yeah,
I'm not going to let it beat me. But then also in my 25 years of doing this, I think that's also helped me become better at many things because I'm one who I want to be the best at whatever it is that I'm doing, and I'm not saying that I am, by far, but that's my mindset of it. I want to be the best, carpenter, the best, drywall finisher, the best cabinet installer, the best electrician, plumber, all those things. So I try my best to learn the best practices on all those because I want to do a quality job, but then I also want to be the best at efficiency. I'm always a competitive person with myself more so than anything.
and
And I've
that
never really tried to put that on other people that work around me. It's just within myself. That's who I am.
that's what I think that helps because I come from like a sports background, so like
Yeah.
basketball, and I played a lot growing up, and that was always my thing. Like I watched so much film. I was very competitive. Like I got all that out of the sports, and then when I jumped into HVAC, it took me a few years to get into it because I honestly, I was a kid. I didn't want to work, but
Yeah.
once I took it serious. Well, even early on, I got competitive just because you get a bunch of, you're the young guy, you get a bunch of older guys thinking that they're
Yeah.
better than you, and pushing you around and this and that, but you want to be the best at what you can do. So that competitiveness goes a long way, I think, in the trades.
Yeah, it does for sure. I think so too. And like I said, like what you was just saying there about young guys and old guys, that was a very hard thing for me whenever I first started doing anything. It's because even like I was a facilities manager at the place where I worked at. It was a children's home. I worked at a children's home. We had like 17 buildings, 4 or 5 offices, like dormitory building, really old children's home too. It's like old buildings. But I was really young whenever I started there. I guess I see it was 2006. So
That's when I
I've been,
graduated high school.
yeah, young. You're a young buck. But
Well, I was gonna say because you like when you said you've seen a lot of things. Like yeah, at 25 years plus, whatever it is, I figure you've seen a lot of things because I'm approaching 20 years into it because I got into it young too. And I feel like now it's like, just give me whatever call it is. Like, I don't care. I'll figure
mhm,
it out. It's almost, I don't want to say this because then I'm going to get a call tomorrow on the hardest call I've ever had. But I feel like it's almost too easy now. Like, once you,
yeah,
pre-
several things are. Yeah,
yeah, once you prepare yourself enough, you've seen enough things, experience is key, obviously. It gets a lot easier, like in your later years. And like, I always say that it took me a little bit longer than the kids nowadays. I feel like there's a lot of young guys right now, a lot who have had on the podcast, like they get a head start, they want to be the best right away, and I'm like, that's great. It took me a good 5 6 years to get into it. Like okay, this is a career. I need to take it serious. I need to do that, and by that time, like halfway through, I don't know, 8 years, I felt comfortable because those first few years, I know I've had this conversation with somebody before. Like, you're worried about every call. Like, oh my god, like what is it? Can I fix it? This and that. And then like the next half of your career, you're like, it's whatever. Just give it to me. I'll take it. Like, you like the challenge.
and that's like every call I get to, like even today. I mean, 20 something plus years into it, I'll get a call the night before of this person tells me what's going on in their house or whatever, and I will be up half the night just thinking of every scenario that it could like. But it's like I love doing it. It's like a puzzle in my mind. I've always told everybody, I said, it's all like a puzzle to me. I like putting together puzzles and doing all that, but everything that's broken is a puzzle, and it's a matter of me being able to figure it out. I don't know. I guess I just like that kind of stuff. I know some people's brains are kind of set up that way. I guess that's the way that mine is.
This podcast is presented by Local. Local works tirelessly to help HVAC contractors rank higher on Google. They use an attack methodology to make sure that contractors dominate their local service areas and increase their market share and generate higher revenue. Reach out to Local at localhq.com/reliable. Mention me or the Reliable HVACR podcast, and you'll get 2 months of SEO for free.
But I was talking to you before we started about how the
Yeah.
trade thing was a hard conversation for me to have with people, because I've always looked at this is my own personal thing. I'm not saying this is how the world sees it, but a lot of people do see it this way. I think that a trade is you went into school, you got a license, you're an electrician, plumber,
Like
HVAC person. You
like a
got to
specific skill, right?
yeah, yeah, and I don't have any of that. I didn't go to any kind of. I went to college for a little while. 19 years old. Me and my wife got married. Had our first son at 19. I started working in factories at 19 years old. I even worked before that. Some part time in different places uh, because I had to. That's just how it is. I had to get a job. That's how I started this. So to my answer to how did I start this and how did I go down this journey? I think a lot of people, especially like, again, we're talking about my business and stuff here, but I think there's probably a lot of people that watch my tool videos and stuff like that and think this guy's just got money and he buys tools all the time or
Hey,
whatever.
me and Jake always talk about it. Like, man, this guy already did a video on this. It barely came out, and then like, but that's like a good thing too, because then we get to see if you
Yeah.
what it looks like and if you liked it or not, and then we go out and buy it ourselves. So
But at 19 years old, I'm married at 19, have a kid at 19, starting out working, making, I think I made $10 an hour maybe at my first job, whatever it was. Of course, that was however many years ago, but just started working in factories. Would never have told anybody that I'd be doing what I'd be doing today. Like, never would have thought it. Not one bit. Even in high school, like you said, I played sports. I played every sport imaginable. I was actually going to college. I was only going to be a school teacher so that I could coach football. That was what I was going to do. Wasn't sure if that's really what I wanted to do, but whenever I was in high school, the push was you got to go to college. That's what everybody does. So you got to go. Even though I didn't know what really I wanted to do. So I went, that's what I was going to do. So I ended up starting working out in factories. I worked for a company named, it was Hayes Limbers, but they made wheels for different vehicles and stuff like that. So that was really my first manufacturing, my first really working with my hands ultimately in that kind of a way type job. We ran press machines. I started learning how to weld, did welded wheels together and stuff like that. So, but once I started working with my hands, I was like, you know what, I kind of like this. It's pretty nice that, you've got these pieces of metal laying here and you put them together and you made something out of it. That's the feeling, that, and I still at that point was like, it's a job to me, just give me a paycheck at that point.
That's exactly
So I
how I
ended,
was at
yeah,
1920. Yeah.
yeah. So then I ended up, that place closed down. I went and worked for a paint factory, Valspar. Y'all probably heard of that, but they didn't make the paint like you buy at Lowe's and stuff like that. They make the paint that you bake on like refrigerator panels. That's what we made there at that particular plant. I didn't really care for that job that much, but at that time, another company was getting ready to open in my area. It's Magna, makes a lot of, again, we made the frames for F-250s and all that stuff. So I ran big presses. I started working in tool and die work with the tool and die guys. I went to Michigan for 2 weeks at a time, came home for a week whenever they started up that factory. The press department that I was going to be over wasn't really working there. So I, in all those factory experiences, I basically just learned different things. And I started seeing it working alongside the maintenance guys. And whenever I was at Magna, I ended up moving up and being over the whole entire department of third shift in my department. So then that taught me the working with people, all those kinds of things, dealing with employees. Also, you can kind of look at them as today I see it taught me how to deal with customers because it's the same thing. You're dealing with people. So
That's the
all
hardest
those,
part for me, honestly, because I'm more of a technician first,
yeah,
and
yeah,
the customer service part came a little late.
yeah. That's probably honestly, to be honest, the hardest part of the job now for even for
Yeah,
me, because like you said, once you do so many jobs, it's you've ran
that's
into
the
about
easy
anything.
part.
Yeah, yeah. But it's the talking back and forth with different customers and stuff like that, and making sure expectations are met, and making sure you're trustworthy with them, and those kinds of things like that.
Yep.
So I worked in those until like I said, it was 2006. So from 1999 to 2006. So I was in a couple different factories for 4 or 5 years, learning different things. In between those two, I also stayed at home with my second son because I knew I was going to be going to the Magna place and leaving the Valspar place, and there was going to be a window before Magna was going to be open. So I was also a stay-at-home dad for 8 months or something like that. So that taught me patience for one, but then also that your day might not always go like you thought it was going to go. You stay at home with a newborn, it's like your day is dictated by whatever newborn wants to do. So
Oh yeah.
again, I'm trying to think of I've thought about this because I've kind of talked about it a little bit during a few lives, but not in depth or anything, because again, I've got zero school, I've got no piece of paper, I've got anything like that, but I've got 25 years of different things that have added up to put me where I am today. It just didn't, it's not like I just flipped a switch one day and said, I'm going to go be a general contractor and start doing stuff. It's all a bunch of stuff that happened over time. Because without any of these things happening, I wouldn't be what I am. So all those things have led me up to where, and then I went to work for, I basically the factory life. And if anybody's probably worked in factories that's listening to this, I'm sure it's probably the case everywhere. It's always been the whole entire factory life that I worked in it was 12 hours a day, 7 days a week. I worked my butt off my whole youth, just nonstop working. And it wasn't because I necessarily even wanted to. You just had to. That was
Yeah, you
the
have to.
schedule that they gave you. So,
I
but
I will say take advantage when you're young. Like
yeah, I was
like
going to say this because
yeah.
I thought it was horrible at the time, like horrible, like, oh man, I'm working, I might as well live at this place. But it put me in a finance. If you don't spend your money stupid, like if you take all that overtime money, the double time money, and all that kind of stuff, you don't go buy boats and everything else that. And I'm not saying it's bad to buy a boat, but I'm saying if you spend all your extra money all the time, then you're not really setting yourself up for success in the future, because it's the same thing. I was able to pay off all my debt. Like, I have no debt, like no car debt, no house debt, no nothing, because I was making so much money working all those hours
Yeah.
at a young
Yeah.
age. So now whenever I wanted to go start my business, I talked about this in one of my videos. I had a lot of things that set me up for success. And one of them is, I didn't have, like most people who's going to go start a general contracting business, you might have to go buy a truck. You're going to have to buy a bunch of tools. You're going to have to do a bunch of things. I didn't have to do any of that because I had already built it up by the time I was ready. I had been working towards, what I'm doing right now. And a
Even
lot of
even
people
if you
don't.
don't have a even if you don't have a goal, like just like you said, don't spend your all your money.
Yeah.
And I was always very frugal. It's because of my parents like rubbed off on me. Like I wasn't into buying expensive cars, or like my friends always had sporty cars. They put rims on their cars. They bought all
Yeah.
this accessories for like everything in their life, and I was like, I'm the frugal one. I'm putting my money away without realizing, that I'm, doing better for myself in the long run. Now, I wasn't the best at it because I didn't have like a savings for a long time or anything like that,
Yeah.
but I never had debt. That was my main thing. Everyone was always surprised that I never had debt. I was like, no, and my mom was really good about, she was a financial person in our household, right?
Yeah.
My dad, he's the one that started our business, but he was really bad about spending. Oh, like that that's his thing. He likes things, he likes to buy
Yeah.
things. My mom was always the one like keeping a notebook and writing everything down, and the budget and this and that. And I'll give him this, we never struggled. Like, we weren't rich. We were like lower mid class at best, and we never felt like we struggled or anything like that. So I kind of took that with me. But like, yeah, the whole thing, like if you get into any skilled trade, I mean, what you do is skill too. You can set yourself up pretty well early
Hmm.
on and not be one of those people later on trying to pay off like all these debts or whatever it is that you got going on, trying to pull out loans and what it is, whatever it is. And yeah, I just wanted to kind of interject there. I also want to thank Diversitech. They simplify your work. They have everything a contractor needs to complete a job. That goes from equipment mounting, condensate, management, tools, maintenance chemicals, electrical components, indoor air quality, and much more. They have different branches under the same umbrella. More than likely, you're already using some of their products or tools. So go check out diversitech.com, and it's your one-stop shop for everything HVAC. I've gotten a lot of compliments on these line set penetration covers. They're basically, when you get an install done, you have the line set coming out the house or whatever a wall you came out of. You normally have to put like foam spray or cover it up somehow. Eric's has these covers that just look professional, and I like the form factor. I've seen others and they're a little bit too bulky. This one, it just gives you what you need. They have two different models. If you need a slimmer one, they have that too. And what I really like is they finally have now one for existing line sets. Now it's two pieces, and you kind of just put them together over the line set and then mount it and drill it in. And it's a good selling point to make an existing install look better. I've gotten so many compliments, like I said. So make sure you go over to ericsmfg.com and check them out.
Yeah. Me and my wife have talked about it several times, because I have worked around guys that, I mean, they had the same job as me, made the same money
Yeah.
as me. And it's like, don't have anything. And I'm just like, what are you doing with all your stuff? I mean, it
It's like
almost
with
looks
me, like
too
a
much
bunch of
sometimes.
HVAC people will complain about, not making enough, not this and that. I'm like, I like when I started working with my dad, I made nothing. Like, I actually took a pay cut from the grocery store to go work with him. Then I had to start up the HVAC, side of it because he doesn't do HVAC. Get my license, I went through I paid my dues, early on. And I was like, I bought a house, I bought a car, I paid off everything. The house, obviously not, but I paid off the car, I paid off everything else. I don't have any debt. Like, what are you doing wrong? Maybe that's, the real
Yeah.
question here.
And sometimes life hits people, to where it puts you in that
Oh yeah,
position. Like
that's happened to
it
me a
does
few
happen.
times.
It does happen to some people, like to where there's no control over it. But I'd say it's not the normal. There's something going on with a lot of people. But that was me with my factory life. And then in 2006, I decided my sons were both getting. So I think this is a good point to make to some people out there too. I was working 12-hour days, 7 days a week. Just had my second son, like whenever I started there. So he was real young. And I had worked around guys that were working the same hours as me all the time that were older than me. And they were all saying, man, I wish I'd have done something different, when my kids were younger, because I'm here all the time, man. I just live at this place. And
That's tough.
ultimately, in the end of it, I've left all those factories and none of them are crying about it. They don't miss me, one bit. There's somebody else there doing whatever it was that I was doing, even though I might have been fairly important or I might have been really good at whatever it is that I did. So I decided in 2006, and I had to just quit. I had to quit that job, not having another job, because you work 12 hours a day, 14 hours a day, 7 days a week. You can't even go look for another job. You don't have time to. So
Yeah.
I was like, I'm going to do something different. So I went in and I saw that there was maintenance positions open for the children's home that I ended up going to work for and the school system here in my, area. And I'm from Kentucky. I don't think I ever mentioned that, but uh, I put in for both of them. I really wanted to go to the children's home just because I felt like, yeah, it was a pretty sweet thing. It was like a 100-year-old like a 100-year-old thing been going on. Like it used to be Little Orphan Annie, type thing. That's what it used to be. It's not what it is now, but that's what it used to be. And so I went in, did an interview with them, went in and did like 2 interviews with the school system. And then they were calling me back for the third one. And somebody told me if they call you back for a third one, they're calling you back to give you the job. So I was like, man, I still hadn't heard anything from that children's home. And I was hoping I was going to go there. But I told my wife, I said, if the school system calls me, I'm going to go ahead and take that. And I said, and then if the children's homes calls me after, I'm going to stay at the school. I'm not going to start a job like in 1 week later be like, no, I'm sorry about it. This other place that I'd rather go do, because I'm not that type of
Yeah.
person. Even though it might have been what I should have done, I just can't do that to somebody type thing. So they called me for my the day before they called me for my third interview, because they called me for my third interview the day after the children's home called me and said, we want you to come, work for us. So like 1 day difference,
Yeah.
like 15 years of my life would have been totally different just
Oh
based
yeah.
upon a phone call, because what happened at the children's home again, it has, I'm trying to remember exactly how many buildings, but basically it's a dormitory style building that they converted into apartments because you couldn't keep children, in a dormitory like that anymore. And then they also had houses where they had just kids and stuff like that. And then they also had apartments for helping out like single parents and stuff like that. So I worked on all sorts of different things. And then also they had office buildings because they've got staff and, all those kinds of things, big gymnasium, really old buildings, all that kind of stuff. So that was like my learning grounds of that kind of work. I'd
Mhm.
been working in factories, doing welding, doing metal type stuff, tool and die stuff, industrial maintenance, but that's a total different thing than going into houses and homes
Oh
and
yeah.
stuff like that. And that's where I found this. This is it. This is what I'm good at. Took me a while to get good at some of those things, but basically they allowed me to be my training grounds for like 15
Yeah, like
years. Uh,
go fix it, figure it out.
Yeah, and it was I got to spend however long I needed to fix it, however long I needed to
That's the
figure it
best.
out, all that kind of stuff. And it was all old stuff, new stuff. Like there's in the plumbing, there's old galvanized piping, there's PVC, there's CPVC, there's PEX, there's every over the years, over 100 years, like there's some sort of every plumbing, some sort of every electrical, some sort of every HVAC stuff, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, because
In
that's
that,
kind of what I liked the most was working on older equipment. Like when I started, that I saw a bunch of like mismatched things. Sometimes it'd be
yeah,
something from the past 5 years. Sometimes it'll be from 20 years ago, whatever it is. And I preferred the older stuff. It was always fun to learn something new. And when you get, because like people need to realize like when you start something, like you don't know anything, right? So like you said, if you can take your time and work on something, you'll figure it out. Like that's what I love too when I started. I mean, I can't do it now. I need to be in and out. That's my whole thing. Efficiency, right? I think you mentioned that too. But when I started, you don't know anything. So
Yeah.
sometimes a simple call would take me all day to figure out. And that's okay because you're learning, you're new to it. You're gonna learn that
Especially
skill.
especially if you're an employee, that's where you need to learn it. Because if you want to go out and start, like right now, I'm my own business, and I can't learn those things on the job because it's going to cost me a lot of money if I like
That's what
blow
I
up this
mean. Like,
person's water heater or whatever else. It's like
yeah,
you
that's
got
what
to
I
be
mean.
able
Like
to.
right now, I can't afford to do that. Like I need to be
Yeah.
in and out. I need to be helping other guys, our other technicians. There's so much more that I have to do now. But when I started, I took advantage of that. Right, you got to learn, and like you said earlier, like take advantage when you're young, either the hard labor or just soaking in information. Those first few years, they might suck, but that's when you're gonna learn everything. That's when you're gonna get everything, and soak it up.
Yeah. And I was just talking to a guy. Right now, I'm building a fourplex of apartments. I'm overseeing it, and then I'll be doing a lot of the interior finish work once it gets done. But they're having me oversee like the building of the whole building.
So you do
And
do like
there was some.
projects and stuff.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I've got a buddy who I work with. He's his own business. I'm my own business. I've worked with him before. I actually did do a couple years. This is another kink in this thing is I left the children's home for a couple years and went to work for a commercial construction company and did project management estimating. So again, that's another. If I hadn't have went and done that, would I feel comfortable going out and doing what I'm doing right now? Probably not. It's just another thing that happened in my life that
Yeah.
has put me to where I'm at right now. So I went and did that for a couple of years. Well, this guy worked for that company. He was pretty much the head guy, not the owner, but the head guy, the head foreman type on all the jobs. I had hired him out at the children's home to do some work for me, and we became pretty good friends. So then I worked with him for a few years. That's the whole reason why I went and worked there, because I wanted to work with him because he was a smart dude. I could tell, like, I wanted to learn. I wanted to spend some time with him, learning some stuff. So I went and worked with him for a few years. But now we work together on big jobs like this because it's very hard to do stuff. That would be the one thing I would say to anybody who is like me and you work for yourself, by yourself, no other employees. It's one of the hardest things is saying no to some jobs because it's really good
Oh.
money or it's really good opportunity or really good customer that you want to get in with. But there's just some stuff that's not efficient for you to do by yourself. In my work, it'd be like you kind of installing a whole entire
Yeah, no.
HVAC system 100% by yourself.
Yeah,
You
no.
can do it. You could do it, but it's
We
like
we learned the hard way in the beginning. Like we took everything on, right? Like I'm like, oh, it has, it's a refrigeration system. We can do it. We can do this. We can do that. And they if you're either undermanned or you don't have that skill, it's just gonna take forever. You're gonna lose money on it.
yeah,
You're gonna end up like not being able to
getting
do it.
hurt.
Yeah, you get hurt. That we've had that too. um, no, but and even now, I don't. I've got into my little niche of kitchen refrigeration, and I
Mhm.
do some HVAC. Like I don't do a whole. I prefer to do like coolers, freezers, all that kind of stuff, all that kind of equipment. That's what I prefer to do. And we stay in our niche of like the kitchen. So like, cause we do hospitals and stuff. Sometimes they'll want us to do stuff on the other floors, and we're like, no, like we would prefer to stay in the kitchen only. And we don't do chillers, we don't do anything crazy. I don't do construction, I don't do any of that. And people always tell me like I should.
Yeah,
I'm like,
because
I really shouldn't because I'm gonna get into a whole other hole and not be able to dig myself out. So I'd rather stay where I'm at, and then as we see fit, we'll grow. Like this year we do have a few like business goals of trying to grow, but it's more like getting more customers or expanding our service area, not really like taking on something like I said, like construction or anything like that we don't do. I'd rather just do what we do and kind of expand on it.
yeah, that's like whenever I left the factory stuff to go find a job where I wouldn't work so much. That's what I was going for because I wanted to, people had told me they wish they'd done something younger, when their kids were younger and all that. So I left to go find me a job basically where I was going to work Monday through Friday. I wanted to spend weekends with my family. I only worked so many hours, like 8 hours a day, hopefully, at the most or whatever. So I could have the nights with my family and all that. And I worked second and third shifts and stuff like that all the time when I was in factories too. So the hours were always weird. But so I knew I was going to take a pay cut when I did that.
Oh yeah.
But that would be more advice that I would say again is money's not everything. You're going to learn that as you get older. It's nice. I mean, money can't buy happiness, but it can buy tools, is what the sign says on my workbench.
Yeah.
But you learn to live with whatever it is. I've made you know tons of money. I've made pretty good money. I've made very little money. I've made I could make a ton of money,
Yeah.
those kinds of things. But it's at the end of the day, I just adjust my living to. I've still lived the same no matter how much money I've made. So I don't look now as where whenever I was younger, it was all about how much you gonna pay me per hour.
Oh
How
yeah.
much how much you gonna give me for this and that. And I just know I'm going to be okay. Whatever it is that I
That's
end up making.
because that's the best part about any skilled trade, any anything in this field of like you, like electrician, plumbing, anything that you do, is that you always have work. And I know I've
Yeah,
heard you say that in your lives and
yeah,
stuff, and I say the same thing. Like the money, like you said, can go up and down. That's, you can't control that. Um, Even us as a business, like I said, I took a pay cut from a grocery store. I made more at a grocery store than when I started, in the trades. And I was like, I'm okay with that because I was like, I mean, I had the benefit of my dad starting the business, but it was a
yeah,
kitchen appliances, or cooking appliances, and I wasn't really into it. But I'm like, okay, like eventually, I'm gonna be in charge of this thing, or I'm gonna do something with it. And I found HVAC, and I was like, okay, I love this, and this is what I want to do. Like, it's something to build on, and you might have to take less money. Like, and that happens to a lot of people. You have to take
yeah,
less money to start up again. And honestly, like, and I mean, that's a good point to bring up because I've had that conversation with in the last couple of episodes. Like, because some people are about money. Like, they want to
mm,
build a big company really quick. They want to hire so many
mm,
people. They want all the new vans, all the new
yeah,
wraps, all the new
yeah.
everything. And I'm like,
Pe-
that doesn't, you don't have to start like that.
yeah. And people ask me, "Are you going to do that all the time?" Like because I
Yeah.
tell people I've got so much work that I'm busy like nonstop. I could be super super big. I could go back to working 12 hours a day, 7 days a week if I wanted to. But again, I already learned my lesson doing that. I don't want to do that. I've learned that I'm okay with whatever money I make. My time and everything
It's the time. Yeah.
at my point in my life is more important to me than anything else. So that's what I'm actually shooting for is those things because I don't want to take on again, I work by myself for a particular reason. I don't want to take on employees. That's a whole nother. I mean, you talk about changing from a business from just yourself to adding
There,
employees and insurance and
there's so
all the
much.
extra stuff that comes along with that. It's so much more stress that at the end of the day, it's like I don't need it. I don't need it. I don't want more. I don't need more money. I don't. Would it
Yeah,
be nice to have more money? Sure, but
of
is it
course.
worth this trade off of all that stress and all that? Because then you got to buy more vehicles. You got to buy more tools. You got to buy. So you
And
think you're making a lot more money, but you're really spending a lot more money. So in the
no,
end of it, you might.
when we started, we hired, because we were so busy, like, I don't know, 3 people or whatever it was. Like, we got up to 6, 7, 8 people, and we lost money. Like, it was crazy. And then you never know, like,
Your
in
employees
any,
are making it, but you're
yeah,
not.
yeah, in any field, work comes and goes. Like, you need to be sure. Like this
Yeah,
year, it we had to be at a certain amount and a certain, like, increase in revenue every year to even consider it again. Because when we started, we did it right away. We're like, oh, we're making so much money, we're gonna hire some people and this and that, and we lost money. And then we downsized to just 3 people, which my brother at the time was still like learning. So it was like 2.5, if you want to consider it that. And we made so much money. Like, we just stayed busy and we made so much more money. So
yeah,
I've had that conversation, like you said, when people ask you that about growing, and some people are like, that they see it as that's the only, and I saw it too that way.
like
Like,
like
that's
you're
the
dumb
only,
to not do it.
yeah,
Yeah,
that's the only way to do it, right? Like, you have to be a big business and all that, but you really don't. I learned that, you know,
yeah.
doing
I'd
what we
say
do.
learn to live that it's okay to
Exactly.
live just good.
I also want to thank our new sponsors, CallRail. So I've been more into marketing and just online presence with our business, even though we only do commercial. Word of mouth is really good for any business. But once you get to a place where you want to be, a big name online or just anywhere, be recognizable, like I said, online presence, have a nice website, be able to be searchable in Google and all these different search engines, and just have a big presence. You need to know where to spend your money. And all I'm going to say is that CallRail can help you track that if that's something that you're interested in. CallRail can tell you, hey, these are not working so much. These are working really good. Stop spending your money here. Put more money and effort into this. And just be smarter about what you spend. So make sure you go by callrail.com. They do have a no risk free trial and you can check it out for yourself. I also want to thank another new sponsor, Residio. Basically, they help with a sustainable home and they make it a safer, cleaner, and smarter home. They have so many things that work together. They were showing me the new thermostats that they have going on, how it's implemented together, and all these different little, smart devices that connect and talk to each other. So if you want to learn more, head over to residio.com and check it out for yourself.
I've never have trusted people enough to say it's
That's hard.
Morgan's maintenance.
Yeah.
It's Morgan's maintenance, and I'm going to send this person that's
Mm-hmm.
not Joey Morgan to your house and hope that he doesn't just do something horrible. That because they're not going to say, John Doe over here, the employee of Morgan's maintenance, came to my house and did a horrible job and this and that. They're going to tell everybody I hired Morgan's maintenance and
Yep.
the work was shoddy. The work looked bad. Take sitting pictures of stuff that I didn't even do, but it was an employee. I just know I couldn't do it. I wouldn't be able to do it. So
No, that's hard
I'm
because
not even looking down that road.
I go behind big companies and they do some of the dumbest things that I've ever seen. And I even talk to other technicians and you like, I don't know. I try to talk to some technicians and then I'm like giving them the benefit of the doubt. And then like I see their work and I'm like, okay, never mind. Like, you never know what kind of work. It could be a big business license, everything, but
Yeah,
the work could be subpar at
I always
best.
I tell everybody that my customers wise, if they call me and ask me for people and I can't get to them or it's something I
Oh
can't
yeah.
do because of I'm just not allowed to or whatever. There's certain things now that was a big shift for me too, from going from that children's home to my own self. Is that like there I was an employee, so I could do anything because it's not it wasn't my responsibility. It's like I'm not going to get in trouble for it. They would, or if they asked me to do it, I was going to do it. But there's only certain things I can do now. Like I can't go install a HVAC system. I'm not a licensed HVAC person in my area, so I can't go do that. Now I can go do preventive maintenance on one, or go
Yeah.
fix one for somebody. Basically, if my role is if somebody's already got it in their house, I can fix it. That's the rule kind of in my area. It's considered maintenance at that point. Now there's still certain things like in my area, and again, I never know. I've lived in Kentucky my whole life. I've never worked anywhere else. I don't know what it's like anywhere else, but like I can't go to an HVAC supply house and buy refrigerant and stuff like that. Like I'm not allowed to. I don't know if that's the case everywhere or not.
It's
So
a whole that's a whole other topic that we've had on the show and stuff because like there's a I've run into some maintenance people around here. Like it's there's good and there's bad. So
yeah,
we've actually because I had a grudge against maintenance people for a while, like back in the
yeah,
day, because maintenance people took our away one of our biggest customers at one point. Uh, and that was another reality check or like you wake up call. We put all our eggs in one basket
hmm
when we first started and stuff, and we had all the IHOPs all like here, and there's a ton of them here, right? Because we service a big area. Gave us so much work, and but they fought every invoice. That was another thing, but and he was like a millionaire, multi-millionaire, the guy that owned it.
yeah.
I was like, maybe that's how he has his millions because he
Yeah, the
fights.
people with a lot of money don't like spending it. I can tell
Yeah.
you that's been my experience too. Like they love.
So they wanted their own maintenance people, and they poached our guys and hired maintenance people and took our guys away, and they took our work away. We fell back down to zero of work. Like we didn't have any work, so we had to build it back up and learn that way. But I've learned around here. I know it's different everywhere, but like if you know people in the supply
Yeah,
house, if you
yeah.
go make friends with them,
I can
they
go
can
to
buy
I can
anything.
go to yeah, I can go to Johnstone and get certain things
Yeah,
because I've been going to Johnstone for, 15 years for the place that I work for,
sure.
and they know me in there and all that kind of stuff. I still don't. I'm still not going to do a lot of things just because I have to pick and choose. I can't do everything. I just
It's
can't. So there's some
liability
things I just
too.
yeah. Yeah. But what I was going to say with that is in dealing with my customers, and they'll ask me for somebody, hey, do you know an HVAC guy? Do you know a plumber? And of course, I've got all those that I use at different point in times. I've got people I use for that. But I always tell everybody, find yourself a company that is preferably the guy who's still working owns the company,
Yep.
or it's him and his son, or him and two or three other people. And again, I'm not saying every big company is bad, but they can't manage those employees. Like they send them out to jobs. They're paying people just to get jobs done. Doesn't matter how it gets done, just get it done. And you're going to end up, you might get the best technician in the world if you hire a big company, but they probably only have like two that are
Yeah.
good, and they probably got 30 that are bad. So it's just a roll of dice who they send to your house at that point.
It
Versus if you've got somebody who's invested in their business and it's their name on it, same thing as what I just said. If I was going to send somebody to your house under the Morgan's Maintenance name, you better believe that I know that they're going to do whatever it is, or else I'm not sending them. Because it's going to come back to me. So I always tell people to kind of look for that kind of a company. Whenever you're looking for somebody.
and that's what I was gonna say when we are talking about like companies that or people that want to build up a big business. It's funny. I always like around here, businesses have been like booming. There's a lot of construction, a lot of apartments, housing going up, a lot of restaurants. Like it's been really crazy this past year. A lot of businesses have popped up, like HVAC businesses and things like that. So I always look around to see, what new vans I see, what new companies pop up. And honestly, like a year later, 2 years later, I don't see them anymore. So I know a
Yeah.
lot of people struggle with that, trying to be big too quick. And
Yeah, and it ends up making you go broke.
yeah, and I've had conversations like now with you, but also like with Kurt, uh, HVAC guy. We like being a small business. Like that's just our
Mhm.
thing. We're doing good. Why, take on, like you said, the headaches and all that. Now, if you want to grow, I would say do it at a slower pace because I've been there. You hire too many people, you lose money, or quality control is what you're talking about too. Like you can't, because that's our whole thing. When we grow this year, I know I'm gonna have to take a step back and be more of like a, I don't want to say like a babysitter, but like a supervisor to everybody else, right? Because I need to make sure
Yeah,
that they're doing the work the right way, and our names on that, on that invoice, and that customer knows only the company name, not the technician that went out there.
yeah, yeah. And then I was bringing this up because I was talking about doing that quadplex. I've got
Oh yeah.
electricians and plumbers and stuff out there right now, and one of them was a young guy. We were just sitting there talking, and I said, "Well, what you ultimately need to do, if I can give you some advice, is because most companies, especially those bigger ones, they're get in and get out, give me my check because they got so much work. They have to have so much work to be able to keep those. And I think today that's the big difference I see in today versus like even whenever I was a little bit younger and all that is it's just here's how to do the job fast and get out of there and get your money. And fast is not always really good to learn at the very beginning. Fast can get you in trouble. Fast, it is important to learn how to do stuff fast, be efficient, those kinds of things like that. But
I
if you're not doing it right, then it doesn't matter that you do it fast. You got
yeah.
to learn first how to do it right, and then learn how to get faster at doing it
Oh
right.
yeah.
That's the
That's
process
what
that
I
you need to
that's
learn.
what I've told people with anything, like even if they're on maintenance, like cleaning an HVAC system or anything like that, like take the time to do it the right way, and then you're just going to get more
Yeah,
efficient and
yeah,
faster.
you keep doing it the right way, you'll get faster at doing it the right way
Or
eventually. But they think fast is the most important thing at the very beginning. It's like fast comes in the long term. You get better at it as you
yeah,
go.
or any work that you do, like
Yeah,
zip tying wires, making everything tidy, putting all the screws back, like just making it the right way and making it neat, any kind of work that you do. And like I've said, it's going to suck the first few times that you do it because it's going to take you forever to get it just the right way and everything. But like, that's the whole point. You're going to get faster as you go. And all these, and they're habits, honestly, right? Because
Yeah.
bad habits are kind of the big thing for me when when I'm training with somebody or, trying to teach them something. Like, I don't want them to pick up bad habits because when I've seen guys from other companies or we've hired people from other companies, like, do they have bad habits? Because that's going to take longer to correct. Because if you're
Yeah.
younger, build a good habit of cleaning up after yourself, making everything tidy. And like I said, if you're just cleaning something, do it the best you can, tidy up all that. And then it gets quicker the next time you go out. Every time you go out there, it's quicker.
Yeah.
But we still run into that with older technicians trying to rush because I have somebody who's been with us for a long time now, and I have to remind him every now and then to slow down because he thinks like he needs to run so many calls a day to keep us happy and all that. I'm like, I would rather you take your time and
Mm,
maybe push some things to the next day, versus like getting a call back or a upset customer or anything like that. That's where it comes back to bite you. So yes, take your time. It's not all about
yeah.
like rushing.
I had that same exact conversation. I had different guys work with me at different times at the children's home, and this guy would go do work orders, like whatever it was, and but he was just knocking them out, you know. But then I'd always get an email the next day being like, so and so came over here and did this, but it's still falling off or it's still doing whatever, because he had the mindset of I just got to do is like if he gave me these work orders, 5 of them today, I've got to do all 5 of them today. It's like, no, that's just what I gave you. And I had the same conversation with him. I said, I would rather you get one done over the whole entire day and me not have to go over there and redo it or do whatever
Yeah.
than it is for you to get 5 of them done and I've got to go fix 3 or 4 of them. You know, I just assume you're never going to hear. I told him this exact words. I said, you'll never hear me say one thing to you about how long it takes you to do something if you've done it right. Like, you'll never hear me say that, because I told him then, I said that the speed and stuff will come, you know, later. That's I understand that you're not going to be fast, you know, right now. I want you to do it right. That's what's more important, because if you're going to still be working at that place, like it's the same thing for you. If you've got a customer who you go to their building every single time and work on their refrigerators and all
Yeah.
that, it's like, well, if you don't do it right, of course, I guess that's repeat business, I guess is what some people look at that as. But in my case, I actually worked for the place, you know, like it was my buildings. If
Yeah.
I didn't do it right, I'm gonna have to do it over. You know,
You
the
have to do
John
it for
Wooden,
free.
yeah, John Wooden has a quote I put at the bottom of all my emails is, if
Mm.
I don't have time to do it right, when am I going to have the time to do it over? You know, so
Oh yeah.
it's a really good quote. I really like that. And it's a good, I've thought about that a lot. It was so, like, whenever I read it, I'm like, that's exactly what been trying to say, you know, for a long time. It's a
And,
really good quote.
and that's another reason why some companies don't work out. Like I said, if I see them pop up and then like a couple years later they're gone, it could also just be the quality of the work, the callbacks, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
I like we have a lot of big fast food chain restaurants, right? So a lot of times we get other companies that come in or they're trying to bid on it or there's competition there, right? So I've worked around other companies or been there when other companies are there, or they work on something else that next to me or whatever it is, and I'm amazed sometimes that they take like 4 or 5 trips to do something, and
Yeah.
that would frustrate the hell out of me because I'm like, no, I'm doing it today or I'm coming back for one specialty part that I need or whatever it is, and that's it. Like, I don't want to be here the entire week. But some companies or some people, that those are bad habits. They have that habit of, oh, I'm gonna just put whatever part or try this or try that, and it's just the
Yeah.
quality of
And then,
work, and
and
the
then
callbacks
eventually
kill
you're,
you.
yeah. And it's one of those short sighted things too, where if you don't fix, there's sometimes where you're going to have to go back and fix it for free because, you know, you didn't
That's
fix whatever
yeah.
the problem was. But then there's sometimes where the customer doesn't even know. And if you're a good enough salesman, I guess, you can go back and say, well, this is a new problem, and there's some companies who live by that kind of stuff. It ain't the right way to do it, in my opinion or whatever, but that's what a lot of people do. Same thing with general contractors with change orders. There's change order contractors who give you a really low bid, and all they want to do is get their foot in the door, and then they'll say,
Oh
well,
yeah.
this stuff wasn't specified on the drawings right. It's going to be an extra this amount of money if you want to do this now, even though they knew that that's what you wanted in the first place, but it didn't say it, in the scope of work type thing. And I feel like those companies, they're always having to get new customers, and that makes no sense to
Yeah, I
me.
was
It's like,
gonna say they catch on because we've had that too, where
yeah,
companies get their foot in the door, and then they realize, oh, all this other fees or expenses came into play, or it wasn't what they told them. Because I've had that issue recently too. Like another company, like, oh, it's just this, and we're gonna charge you just this or whatever. And I'm looking at it like it's not. That's not the problem. But okay, if you want to like hire them, they hire them, and then like they end up needing a whole new system or whatever it is. And I'm like,
mm-hmm.
and sometimes I'm like, why did you even pay them? But I guess it's a pride thing probably because they hired somebody else and they don't want to. They don't want to look bad.
I,
But
I saw a meme of, or I don't know what the term is for him, GIF or whatever it is, but it was Conor McGregor walking into the arena like all crazy, and it said whenever the contractor whenever the customer who hired the cheaper guy gives you a call after the cheaper guy's already been there type thing, you walk into the job site like, yeah, you thought you were getting something better, but you finally figured it out, that you weren't type thing, and
it's
that
funny.
happens a lot, it
It's
does.
funny because like we used to worry about that, like the competition, and it. If you're in the skilled trades in any capacity, like you're gonna have work. We've
Yeah,
had
and it
if you have good quality work, right?
Yeah,
That's
that's
the
what I was
most
getting ready to
important
say.
part.
If you do good work, you will never not have work. Because
Yeah,
most of my customers now, they just call me up and say, Joey, I got this, just whenever you can fit me in. Don't even ask me for a price. Don't ask me for a nothing. They just want me to come do whatever it is because
that's
they know I'm not going to rip them off. They
yeah,
know that I'm going to be like, right, I might be a little more expensive than this person, but I'm not going to be maybe as I'm usually somewhere in the middle-ish type thing. And they
that's our
know that I'm
advantage
going
too.
to do what it is that whatever it is that they want me to do, they know that it's going to be done, going to be done pretty well.
And that's when
And it's,
you know you've made it, when they just like
yeah.
just come over and fix it.
Yeah. Yeah. Don't ask for any. And that saves so much time. It's like, that's why I say that's how I want to run my business more so just because it's easier. I don't
Mhm.
even have to go give estimates. That's, how much time you spend on estimates and stuff like that. And
Oh,
just
dude,
spending
don't.
time figuring out materials and all that stuff. And when you work by yourself, see, I work for myself 100%. So if I'm going to a job for when it's a trip over there, I've got to quit working on my job to
Yeah,
go over there to look at something. And then I got to figure out material. Anytime I'm doing any of that stuff, I'm not working. And I've got a job that I could be working on and actually physically making money. So if you're in a business where you've got someone who solely goes out and gives estimates and you're paying somebody for that, and it has to be, in your overall price and all that kind of stuff, you have to factor that kind of stuff in. Of course, that makes you more expensive for one because you're
yeah.
having to pay somebody who's not even bringing money really in with labor. But that's just a lot of wasted time for me because I work by myself. Like if I'm estimating, I'm not working, I'm not making any money. So if I can find customers and I keep them and I make them happy all the time, I do what they tell me to, I do what they want, the outcome is what they expected. I don't rip them off price wise and all that stuff. They know that I'm an honest person, those kinds of things. I mean, that's the way to go, in my opinion. It's a
See,
lot less stress.
and I strictly deal with commercials, so a lot of bad companies that do rip people off have given everybody a bad name, to where
Yeah.
at one point I had to give quotes for everything. And me and my dad got so frustrated with it, but like it was a really good customer of ours, so we couldn't just like not do the work. But they wanted quotes on like the smallest parts that cost like $20 or something. And I'm like, you're really gonna make me do a quote right now versus me just fixing it? So
Yeah.
like when you get customers that just want you to fix things, and you've built up your business, your reputation, whatever it is, those are the best, obviously. But yeah, we've been down that rabbit hole because of other. I'm honest with my work, and we have no reason to make up anything or try and sell anything. It's like, I'm going to go and check out what you got. I'm going to let you know exactly what it is that you need to fix it. Unless it's beyond repair, then of course I'm going to give you a quote for a new system. But like all these other businesses, like you said, rely on like a salesperson or something
Yeah.
like that. And then they look at me funny, when they call me out. I'm like, I'm not trying to rip you off, but I've been down that rabbit hole, like you said, the quote. And we do commercials, so we build them everything. We're like, if we go out there just to give you a quote, we're gonna bill you for that.
Yeah.
And then there's gonna
Yeah.
be a fee to come back out. There's gonna be all this other stuff. So that quickly got shut down, but it was really frustrating.
Yeah, that's what I think that the free estimates in our
I hate
business
that.
and in anybody's business, I think that that was a really, but there's always going to be somebody that's doing it. So then
Yeah.
it makes it to where most people have to. But I don't think that because there's a tons of people out there. Here's my whole conversation with somebody. If they call me and I don't really know them, they'll call me and say, I would like to, you know, have you build out a office within our suite or whatever it is. And I'll say, and well, what kind of money are you looking to spend type
Yeah.
thing? Now this isn't the very first question. I'm just saying, but during the process, I will ask them this, and I have found most customers don't want to tell you that, and I think it's because they feel like, well, if I tell you $5,000, you're going to say it's $5,000. That's what. So
Oh
it's
yeah.
like it's a bartering type deal. But what I'm trying to figure out is if you tell me $1,000, and I know it's going to be $6,000, and I'm not going to even come. I'm not going to come out there and draw it up and spend time drawing it up, figuring materials. Because this is why I don't do free estimates, is
Mm,
because I could spend 12, 14 hours on a build out of some kind, like a general contractor, not maintenance service work, but that kind of stuff. And it's like that's a lot of time invested. And again, me working for myself, that's 14 hours of me not going out and doing a service call or whatever else and actually physically making money. So I don't do free estimates. Now over the phone, what I will do is I will tell somebody it's probably going to be about this is on service or jobs. Like if someone says, hey, I've got a ceiling fan I'd like you to change out, I'd be like, well, typically it's somewhere around like $75 or something if you've got multiple of them. But I said that doesn't mean that's what it is. I'm just seeing if that's okay with you before I come out there. Whenever I get there, if I run into something like you don't have ceiling fan boxes, electrical boxes in your ceiling, I got to change one out. I said, before I do anything that's going to be more than that, I'll let you know.
yeah.
But if you're not okay with that price from the get go, I don't even need to come out there. It's a waste of my time. It's a waste of my trip out there. Those kinds of things like
That's
that. But the
that's the
free
hard part.
estimates,
That's the hard part with quotes too, is trying to, because we try to factor in, because we do service, like what else could go wrong or what else could
yeah,
happen or
yeah,
what else they could
and that,
need. We try
and
our best to factor it in.
yeah, and that's why I tell people, I said, if you let me just do this, I'll
Oh
come out
yeah.
there and fix it, and I'll tell you how much it is. It's going to be cheaper for you because if I
Yeah.
sit here and think about what I could run into, I'm going to be thinking, well, I better add this in there and I better add that in there. My
That
price is going to be a lot higher. You'll end up getting it cheaper if you just let me come out there and fix it.
that's
Uh,
funny, but customers won't realize that because
no,
we deal with anytime it's like, because we have, I think, a $500 NTE on most of our places, right? So like if it's under $500, we're good to do it. Now $500 sometimes doesn't go far, because sometimes it'll be like $600, $800, whatever it is, and for the repair, because it's like a major kind of repair.
hard.
But yeah, and like I've thought about that too, because we've talked about quotes on like the other show, the HVAC nights and stuff. I started thinking about it. I'm like, honestly, if they just let me do the work, because I only bill, the labor that I'm there.
Yeah,
If it's out of town, I'll charge like the labor time to get there. I don't charge any extra fees, any crazy fees or anything like that. Like I just charge the labor and whatever the part was that you needed or anything that came up. And honestly, that's probably, like you said, cheaper than most
yeah,
quotes, because
it is all the time for me.
yeah, because when they ask you for a quote, you got to start thinking about like everything. Because I've had jobs that turn into all day jobs because something didn't match up right, or something went wrong, or something else gave out or anything like that. So you got to, put that all in the quote, and
Yeah,
because they're gonna hold you to that quote. So a lot
yeah,
of times the quote is way more.
and even though they say free estimate, which somebody who's not running a business very well, it might very well be a free estimate. They might just say, "Hey, I lose that time. It's whatever." But it's like if I've got to do an estimate for somebody and I have to get into my computer and type out all that stuff and go look for materials, I mean, I keep track of my time while I'm
Yeah.
estimating, and it's in my price. You like so it's not.
Eh,
I came out to your house for free and looked at it, but it's in my price of the time I spent to come out there to your house to look at this, the time I spent on my computer typing something, the time I spent on my computer
Yep.
going to Lowe's.com and Home Depot and wherever else it might be to look up materials and all that stuff. You
That
you are paying for it. You just don't.
that's why I say like even when they had us doing the quotes on the small jobs, we charge like a minimum, and usually our minimum is like an hour and a half, whatever it is. And they would look at us like, you're just gonna look at it and type up something. I'm like, yeah, we got to go look at it. It's travel, it's the time, it's taking measurements, whatever it is, doing our research on the internet, getting prices for you, like all of that. We add all of that up. Like you're not getting
Yeah,
out of it
and
nothing.
it blows my mind that people even think that you should have to do that for free. It's
Yeah,
like any other job out there. It's like if you're a attorney or whatever, you'd be like, well, here's my stuff, and I want you to go over it and tell me if you think that I could win this trial or whatever, and be like,
yeah.
but it should be free until you give me that answer, until you tell me, whether or not, or whatever it is.
No,
It
even with
seems
those, I'm
crazy to
pretty
me.
sure they turn away a lot of people, not unless they know they're gonna win it, and then they got the money
Yeah,
out of it.
yeah,
But like, honestly, everybody needs to realize nothing in life is free.
it's free. Yeah,
It's
it's
just the
not.
way it is.
Yeah, it might have the word free in front of it, but that
There's
doesn't
a
mean it's free. You're going to
there's a
pay for it
catch.
eventually. Yeah. So one thing that I was thinking about too that I was going to bring up, I was just thinking of things that I thought would be helpful for me to share that I've
Yeah,
learned throughout my lifetime. And the one thing that I would say to somebody, I kind of mentioned at the beginning, is don't just learn how to do something. Like I can't tell you how many people I have explained how to even wire a receptacle or a light switch or whatever over the course of time. Different people working for me, whatever. I'm giving you this use case scenario of this is how I'm installing this one right here as I'm talking to you and I'm training you how to do this. This is what I'm doing. And that guy's gonna be able to go install receptacles, black wire here, white wire here, whatever. But then he's gonna open up a box one of these days and it's gonna have a blue wire and a red wire and a yellow wire. And he's gonna be like, well, what am
yeah,
I supposed to do with this? So learning how to do something from people is very important. So like whether you're going to school to learn how to do something, whether you're on the job doing training, but the question you need to always ask is why? Because if you don't understand electricity, whenever you run into these wires are different, now I don't know how to get out a meter and figure out what's what here because I don't have a black and white wire. Same thing, probably like if someone just took a capacitor off and didn't pay attention to what the color wires were or whatever, and they'll
yep,
be like, "Oh well, fan's always brown." Well, I don't have a brown wire here, so what am I supposed to put on the fan? That's the question that's always going to come up.
yeah.
So if you
I
don't
do the
learn
same
the
thing. I do the same thing with us because guys will, and I get after them. Like they rip out the wires when we're changing out a system. I'm like, did you take note of where they went, or did you take a picture?
picture, take a picture, yeah,
And they're like, nope. And then they put it back together, and they're like, and then they need help because they can't figure out, or
yeah.
they don't know how it works, right? And I'm like,
You
okay,
got to
but
start now. You got to start following wires all the way back to wherever they go
and
instead
that
of this is
and
what it was going to.
that's been my benefit since I started. Like I mean, I leaned on my dad because he was an electrician before he got into like the cooking stuff. But um, like my benefit is I learn how to read a wiring diagram. I learn how to check, here and there for voltage. I learn how to use my meter very well. So that's my advantage. But when I get guys that come in and I'm like, did you at least, because now there's no excuse,
Yeah, because
take a
now
picture.
I got to figure out what was wrong with it in the
Oh,
first place, on
I get that
top
all the
of
time.
what you did to it. Like what
Yeah.
I don't know what you did to it.
I
So
get
it's
that all
two
the
things.
time, or when customers get like several companies that go out, I'm like, okay, this is my first time out here. I don't know what the other company did, but we'll figure it out. But like you said, learning how things work, learning,
Yeah, because learning
what,
how to do something will teach
yeah.
you in the normal situation. This is how this is supposed to go. But in
And
service,
if you can
80% of the
backtrack,
time, yeah, 80% of the time might be normal, But
Yeah.
20% of the time, it's going to be like, what in the world is going on here? And if you don't know how to, that's where you see the difference between someone who like really has been doing it for a long time, knows what they're doing, has been trained how to do something, whatever, versus someone who just, hey, this is how this guy showed me how to do it, so this is how I do it. That's a big difference there
Yeah, there's
between those two individuals.
in my field, I've seen it to where people can change out a part if it's like for like, anything like
Yeah.
that. But if
What if
I
you can't
go
get
in,
that part?
yeah, if I go in there, I know how to rewire it, or I know how to, I can do it from scratch. Versus like somebody that, they have it has to be the same exact wiring, the same exact part. Everything has to be like for like. They can change out a part, but they don't know how it works. That is like a very good point, a very important one. Is learn how everything works. That's my whole thing. Because when I started, everything looked so foreign to me. Like I was like, what is this? I got like open up panels and there's wires everywhere. Like, but once you figure out, you know, it's all whatever it is that you do, plumbing, electrician, HVAC.
Yeah,
There's a certain cycle to everything. Like there's certain
yeah.
like wiring goes to certain things. This works a certain way. Switches, that was a big thing for me when I started. Like, what are all these things that I'm seeing? It's just wires and switches.
And I'd even say that there's probably a lot of people like you, for instance. I might say, hey, would you want to come over and plumb my house, like do some plumbing work at my house? And you'd probably be like, I don't do plumbing. But you do. It's all, everything is the same to me. Like whenever I get into electric, and I'm not saying it's like the same, but the process is the
Yeah.
same. You just have to learn materials and, maybe how something might function a different way. But ultimately, like an electrical system is you're getting electricity from point A to point B. A plumbing system is you're getting water or the opposite of water from point A to point B. Uh, Even with HVAC, you're getting cold air or heat, point A to point B. And you just got to learn what are the things in between point A and point B,
Oh, that's
and what are
always how.
how does it go through those,
Yeah.
and which one of those is not working? Where's the stop? Where is it not working anymore? It's stopping at this, you know, point in the middle here. So there's something here in the middle that's not working. I've got to change that out. It's just a different material, different
Yeah.
parts, but the process is kind of the same on a lot of different things. It's all very similar in
That's
the
true,
way
because
that you
that's
go about
always
doing
how
work.
I've described it or looked at it on my work. As far as like refrigerant and refrigeration cycle and stuff like that, I'm like, it's all the same cycle, right? It goes from point A and it goes through all these things and it comes back. It's just what's in between. Like I said, it's either a safety or a metering device or a compressor, whatever it is. Like it's just like all these things in between, and it's like if it's not going through something, you got a clog restriction. It could go, like you said, for plumbing. It could go for anything. Electricity too. You might lose power somewhere, and you're like, okay, somewhere along the
Yeah, you
line,
lose it. You got a
I lost
neutral
it.
somewhere that came loose. Yeah, and it's no longer working.
All right, so I hate to stop it there, but we actually went way too long. We talked for 2 hours. So, what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut this up. You're going to get a part two next week. So, make sure you come back to hear Morgan talk about the craziest calls that he's had working with his wife and the tools that he likes and, why he started his channel. All of that, we'll get into it on the next episode. I just didn't want to cut anything out. I thought a lot of the conversation was great, really good, and I hope you guys got something out of it. And if you guys want to, come back next week, we'll have that part two. A lot of good information, a lot of good experience from Morgan himself. So until then, thank you guys for tuning in this week. See you guys.